Hellboy, The Crooked Man is out digitally. It's the fourth Hellboy movie after the two Guillermo del Toro ones with Ron Perlman, and then the poorly received 2019 version with David Harbour. This one starts fresh. It's not really related to any of the previous three, but honestly, from the perspective of a casual viewer, might as well be in the same universe as any of them. I don't really care. It's mostly just a standalone story using the characters from the comic book. It was directed by Brian Taylor, who made the Crank movies back in the day and then sort of fell into obscurity. Stars Jack Kesey as Hellboy and is of course based on the Mike Mignola comic book. This one takes place in the 1950s and starts with Hellboy and his team delivering a box containing a demonic spider that they caught so that they can do more research on it. The spider gets away, the train crashes, Hellboy and his lady friend try to find the missing demon, but as they become stranded in the forests of Appalachia, they stumble upon some local fuckery involving witchcraft and the titular Crooked Man, who apparently is the messenger of Satan, claiming souls for him and setting his sights on one of the locals named Tom, who coincidentally has just returned to the area after a long period of absence. So the internet tells me that this was probably the most faithful adaptation of the comic out of all the movies, but viewing it as someone who has never read the source material, I can only evaluate it as a movie, as a standalone film. And as a movie, it is awful, and by my standards, the worst of the four movies thus far. First of all, it is very low budget, and visibly so. Apparently, it was made for less than $20 million. Some sources claim it was closer to 10 million, which is nothing in movie-making terms. And considering that, it is actually impressive how good Hellboy himself looks. I thought that the practical makeup and prosthetics are rather solid. Everything else sucks. The CGI is abysmal, especially when the movie opens with a fight sequence against the demon and sort of throws that at you first thing. The action is shot in a janky way. The actors are all very bad, maybe excluding Jack Kesey, but even he is nothing amazing. The plot is weak and fails to develop any of the characters, so that I, as the audience member, care about anything that happens to them. So without that, there's really no tension. The pacing is strange because the movie essentially has a climax an hour in, and I think that could have easily the plot could have easily been resolved right there, but then it keeps going for another 40 minutes without a really good idea of what to do with itself. Just sort of have the characters meandering around the mining tunnels and the haunted old house, only to repeat the same confrontation again. I didn't like the editing with the constant fades to black. It looked amateurish, and I hated the music. The constant use of generic horror movie sounds, like plucking the violin strings, for instance, to the point that it's annoying more than anything else. So yeah, I thought this was straight up a bad movie. There's really no redeeming qualities or reason to see it. I understand some comic book fans might be excited about it because they have a soft spot for the characters and the stories, and they see something that they know in here, but you can't just look me in the eye and say this was a good film, because it wasn't.